so all the pea kids will be yellow heterozygous. Then, in the second generation, where the two heterozygous kids marry, their babies could have any of the three possible genotypes, showing the two possible phenotypes in a 3-to-1 proportion. But even peas have a lot of characteristics. For example, besides being yellow or green, peas may be round or wrinkled. You can have all these possible combinations: round yellow peas, round green peas, wrinkled yellow peas, and wrinkled green peas. To calculate the proportions for each genotype and phenotype, we can use a Punnett square too. Of course, this will make it a little more complex. And lots of things are more complicated than peas, like, say, people. These days, scientists know a lot more about genetics and heredity, and there are many other ways in which some characteristics are inherited, but it all started with Mendel and his peas.
So you guys saw a little bit about Mendel. You heard about some traits along with what kind of plants. What kind of plants he eats? Yeah, those are pea plants. To answer one of the questions that was dropped in chat, your birthday is not genetically linked. You have a birthday based on your birthday. It's when you're born. It doesn't really change anything. Your mother was pregnant for 9 months-ish. And that changed the genetics as well. But it's somewhere between 36 and 40-ish weeks. Anyway. Question 1. Mendel used the length of pea plants to discover the principle of heredity. So you guys are answering this over in chat. Mendel himself was a botanist. That means he worked with biology of plants. Except he wasn't. He was a farmer. On the monastery, you could do mathematical studies. Mendel was a bit of a mathematician. And he started studying the world around him. Specifically, his big thing that he loved to do / was beer. Mendel was the monastery's bartender. Essentially, during this time, beer was a resource. It was access to easy carbohydrates, and Mendel was worried about making sure everybody in the monastery was fed well. He grew a couple of different crops, peas being one of the big ones. Okay, remember that September is the 9th month, so if you were born in September and your parents were born in September, it's not so much that there's a genetic linkage, it's more of what happens 9 months before September. That your parents and maybe your grandparents would probably have in common. Now leave that alone. It out. It's never a final conversation. That's it. So Mendel is using things he's noticing. He's observing, hey, sometimes I get yellow seeded peas, sometimes I get green seeded peas. He's looking at the color of peas. When Mendel bred a green seeded pea with a yellow seeded one, the offspring were all what color? What color were they? That he was seeing them all. Yellow. And yellow is the dominant trait. Wouldn't that make the green green trait? If yellow was dominant, green is recessive. Alright. A pea plant was linked when both alleles were identical. We use the Greek prefix homo here. And then we use you've run across this prefix before, it usually just is meaning the same. There is something similar about whatever the context is. Whereas the opposite, thank you, Alexa, is heterozygous, meaning different. Hetero has a prefix, it's different. Zygous, still that first cell of an offspring. Based on the alleles, we can determine the blank of an organism. If they are big Y, or little y, or big Y, little y, homozygous dominant, heterozygous, homozygous recessive, we can determine the genotype. The genotype is the thing that tells us what genes we could pass down. They're always in sets of 2. That's because you have 2 strands of DNA. You have 2 chromosomes. We'll talk more about chromosomes soon. But they always come in pairs, unless something really weird is going on. And you can only give one of them to your offspring. The observable trait is differently named. It is your observable type, or phenotype. This is how that trait is actually expressed. It's what occurs because of that trait. The diagram that we're going to use for a lot of math that was used in the video to figure out the probability of possible offspring is called a what? It is a mathematical tool for us to calculate the probability of genetics. Big Y, or homozygous Y, capital Y represents an organism having dominant alleles. Besides colors of the pea, Mendel looked at other traits of peas, barley, hops, other vegetables. The color of the flower, the height of the plant, and the shape of the beans. Now I'm asking you to try. So this is going to be our Punnett square, and I'm going to walk you guys through it. We're told that 2 parents are big T, little t, and little t, little t. One parent is big T, little t. Second parent is little t, little t. This is usually your paternal father, whereas this is usually the maternal mother. We sometimes use paternus and maternus because it's not always that clear when we're talking about different species. But for the moment, we're going to say this is your dad, this is your mom. From here, we cross multiply. We carry down the big T. We carry over these little t's. Carry down this little t. Carry over this little t. Do we combine these into little t squared? Yes and no. We're going to do that at a later date. You don't have to worry about it at this level. We have 2 that are big T, little t, and 2 that are little t, little t. That means we have 2 out of 4. We have 0 big T, 2 out of 4 big T, little t's, 2 out of 4 little t, little t's. We can convert these into percentages because we like our percentages when we're working in probability. Do 15% and 50%. These boats equal 50% each. We're going to do a lot more work with Tight Squares next week. At this point, it is someone to carry the offspring because of the issue with the mother where they can if there's a donated egg, donated sperm, that complicates things, but it still links to the parent. There are cases where we can't use for it, but they're extremely rare and usually require genetic engineering. Alright guys, I will see y'all later. Have a great day.